risk assurance and risk management. Welcome to the Risk Management of Everything channel. On this channel, you will find videos on risk management and the application of risk management to diverse areas and sectors. If you are new here, please consider subscribing to our channel and press the notification button so you can be notified when we upload new videos. Thank you. The meaning and roles of risk assurance in risk management are discussed in this video. Now, let us start. What is risk management? Risk management aims at managing potential impacts on your project, both positive and negative. Managing your risks is arguably one of the most important parts of a project. If one of the potential risks has passed the threshold, it can put your entire project in jeopardy. An entire project can be jeopardized if one of the risk exposures exceed the threshold or benchmark. There is not usually just one risk per project, either. There are many risks that require assessment and discussion with your stakeholders. Risks are an inherent part of all organizations and projects. Hence, the need to identify, record, monitor and plan for all potential organizational and project risks. Some risks are bound to become problem areas, like executing a project over the holidays and having to plan the project timeline around them. But there are many risks within any given project that, when unchecked, can come as unwelcome surprises to you and your team. That is why risk management needs to be both the proactive and reactive process of identifying, analyzing and responding to risks that emerge over the lifetime of the project. It's something that occurs both at the outset of the project and throughout the entirety of the project life cycle, ensuring that nothing crops up out of the left field. Roles of risk management. A risk management policy should set out the roles and responsibilities for risk management and internal control. The purpose of risk management is to 1. Achieve compliance, 2. Provide assurance, 3. Support decision-making and 4. Help ensure the efficiency/effectiveness/efficacy of operations, projects and strategy. When allocating risk management responsibilities, consideration should be given to each of the significant risks faced by the organization in terms of allocation of responsibilities to ensure 1. Clear-cut strategic planning, 2. Designing controls, and 3. Auditing compliance. What is risk assurance? Risk assurance is an important component of the overall risk management process. The term assurance refers to the verification of risk mitigation and internal control. It embraces the tasks of internal audit, management reviews and specialized audits that test and validate the control environment. The terms combined assurance and integrated assurance have become fashionable in recent times. These terms refer to the idea that a planned approach to arranging all of the various assurance providers is adopted. This seeks to reduce duplications in audit processes and prevent any key controls from being missed by assurance providers. This approach to assurance normally has a risk foundation. The contents of risk registers are used to design the annual assurance plans. The audit committee will seek assurance that all the significant risks are well managed and critical controls are effectively implemented. Risk assurance in the modern enterprise is a team effort. So that begs the question, exactly what do the many types of risk assurance professionals out there do, anyway? What position does each person on the team play? By my count, there are at least 7 job titles that address cybersecurity and compliance somehow. Clearly defining those roles and responsibilities is crucial for effective compliance, because without that clarity your business can face either of 2 big mistakes. First, you might have multiple roles focused on the same task. That breeds confusion, squanders resources, provokes office turf wars, and hampers corporate efficiency. The second potential mistake is even worse. You might have no roles focused on certain tasks, which can leave risks to fester unaddressed until a crisis explodes. Purpose of risk assurance. The aim of assurance reporting is to provide independent and objective information to our key stakeholders so they can gain assurance over the effective management of risk and are aware of any relevant material concerns that internal audit has. Internal audit is primarily concerned with risk assurance, and this will be the concern of the non-executive audit committee in a large organization. The outcomes and impact of risk management activities are often reported to an audit committee in a large organization. Now, let us discuss the responsibilities of an audit committee. Benefits of risk assurance. Benefits of adequate risk assurance include: to build confidence with stakeholders, to provide reassurance to sponsors and financiers, to demonstrate good practice to regulators, to prevent financial and other surprises, to reduce the chances of damage to reputation, to encourage a good risk culture within an organization, and to ensure a secure delegation of authority system. Responsibilities of Audit Committee. Audit committees play a vital role in ensuring effective risk assurance within an organization, thereby facilitating the resilience of the firm's risk management framework. Audit committees have a range of responsibilities, including the obligation to obtain adequate risk assurance in the organization. Responsibilities of audit committees may be classified into 4 categories, namely, external audit, internal audit, financial reporting, and regulatory report. Now, let us briefly outline the responsibilities of these 4 categories of audit committees. 1. External audit. Responsibilities of external audit committees include: recommend the appointment and reappointment of external auditors, review the performance and cost-effectiveness of the external auditors, review the qualification, expertise and independence of external auditors, and review and discuss any reports from the external auditors. 2. Internal audit. Responsibilities of internal audit committees include: review the internal audit and its relationship with external auditors, review and assess the annual internal audit plan, review promptly all reports from the internal auditors, review management response to the findings of the internal auditors, and review activities, resources and operational effectiveness of the internal audit. 3. Financial reporting. Responsibilities of financial reporting committees include: review the annual, half-year and quarterly financial results, the annual report and compliance with financial reporting requirements, and review the disclosure made by the Chief Executive and Group Finance Director during the certification process for the annual report. 4. Regulatory reports. Responsibilities of regulatory reports committees include: review arrangements for producing audited accounts, monitor and review the standards of risk management and internal control, consider how the Sarbanes-Oxley processes have operated, develop a code of ethics for the CEO and other senior management roles, annually review the adequacy of the risk management processes, and receive reports on litigation, financial commitments and other liabilities. Risk assurance, review and monitoring. Assurance is required in respect of a risk management activity, hence, the need for regular review of risk assurance tasks. When considering the review and monitoring activities that need to be undertaken, the following stages should be borne in mind: review of the process as it operates in the organization, review of the standards of risk control in force, review of the level of success in reducing risk exposures, review of the level of success in achieving business objectives, review of why a high-risk strategy, project or operation was successful, and delivery of risk assurance across this whole range of activities. Sources of risk assurance. Depending on the nature of the organization, an audit committee may depend on some or all of the following sources of assurance. 1. Culture measurement, by using a recognized framework such as COSO in order to gain a quantitative evaluation of the control environment. 2. Audit reports, produced by internal audit and external auditors on a range of issues including risk assessment, implementation, compliance and training. 3. Unit reports, produced by the unit in response to audit reports and recommendations and reports on incidents that have occurred. 4. Performance of the unit, on risk-related issues, losses, significant weaknesses in control measures and details of any material losses suffered by the unit. 5. Unit documentation, on topics such as the risk management policy, health and safety policy, business continuity plans, disaster recovery plans and other relevant documentation. Risk assurance professionals' roles. It is important to understand the range of risk assurance professionals and how each one contributes to strong corporate compliance. Here are 7 big risk assurance professional roles. 1. Chief Information Security Officer, CISO. 2. Internal Auditor. 3. External Auditor. 4. IT Auditor. 5. Compliance Officer. 6. Risk Officer. And 7. Privacy Officer. What each risk assurance role does. 1. Chief Information Security Officer, CISO. The CISO is responsible for assuring that the business has sufficient security processes in place for its business operations and that those security processes are working effectively. They work with the board and management team to determine an acceptable amount of security risk and then implement appropriate security measures, for example, encryption, access controls, vendor security audits, penetration testing, and so forth, to keep security risk within those tolerances. 2. Internal Auditor. The internal auditor assesses various risks to the organization, tests the controls that are supposed to keep those risks in check, and advises the board and business operating units on how to improve any weaknesses found during the audit. For example, the internal auditor might review the CISO's process for performing vendor security audits, and then provide a report to the board and the IT security team about any weaknesses uncovered and what mitigation steps the internal auditor recommends. 3. External Auditor. The external auditor is not part of the corporate organization per se. Rather, the company hires an external audit firm to provide an objective review of the company's risks and controls. For example, public companies have an audit firm review the company's internal controls over financial reporting every year, and many security controls are part of that audit. Or the company might hire an audit firm to perform a service organization control, SOC, to audit of its data security controls so the company can provide assurance to customers that its security is effective. A service organization to control report is an important asset to organizations. It is, however, time-consuming and expensive to get a SOC 2 report, especially if an organization does not have compliance expertise or modern tools to handle the work. 4. IT Auditor. The IT auditor is a specialist within the internal audit realm who specifically assesses risks related to the IT environment. For example, the IT auditor might review the company's maintenance of IT assets, its security patch management, or its procedures to evaluate new technologies. This role is especially relevant these days since the pandemic has changed both how people use existing systems and what technology they use, their own devices versus corporate equipment, a blend of their own and corporate-approved software, and so forth. The IT auditor usually answers to the Chief Internal Audit Executive but works often with the CISO. 5. Compliance Officer. Large or highly regulated businesses usually have a dedicated compliance officer responsible for assuring that the company has processes in place to meet its regulatory compliance obligations. That can include everything from privacy regulations and banking industry rules on the use of technology vendors to anti-corruption laws, and more, all of which touch on issues around vendor risk management, access controls, and data integrity. 6. Chief Risk Officer, CRO. Financial firms define the risk officer as someone responsible for operational and liquidity risk management, often with the regulatory compliance officer reporting into the CRO. An emerging trend in other industries is to promote the chief internal auditor into the CRO role so that they have responsibility for maintaining effective risk management rather than only assessing risks and finding weaknesses. 7. Privacy Officer. The Privacy Officer is a specialist in corporate compliance who focuses on compliance with privacy laws, the EU General Data Protection Regulation, the California Consumer Privacy Act, and similar laws or regulations. The privacy officer is typically not part of the IT security function because privacy compliance involves more than security. That said, privacy officers might work closely with CISOs or IT auditors because security lapses are so often the source of a privacy breach. The privacy officer may also be the designated data protection officer, a role most businesses need to identify as part of compliance with the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. What is the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR? Any organization that does business in Europe or is expanding to Europe is legally required to comply with the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. GDPR requires organizations inside and outside Europe to secure all EU citizens' personally identifying information, PII, collected, processed or stored by the business. Therefore, an organization needs to know where data is sourced and who it is for. GDPR also requires organizations to develop specific processes governing internal records, data breach notifications, appoint a data protection officer and more. Additionally, the law's right to be forgotten provision says if asked, an organization must erase an EU citizen's information from its database and those of third parties. Organizations found to be in breach of GDPR provisions can face penalties of up to €20 million or 4% of their total worldwide yearly revenue, not to mention incur costs to their reputation and brand. Roles of risk assurance profession with an organization. Not every business needs to fill all 7 roles listed above. Smaller organizations might be able to let the legal team run privacy and regulatory compliance or be okay without someone in the IT audit role. Some non-financial firms might consolidate internal audit and risk management into one function. Each business will need to find its own ideal structure based on factors such as organizational complexity, regulatory compliance burdens, and risk tolerances defined by the board. The better question to ask is how your company will fulfill all the duties referenced in the roles of those 7 risk assurance professionals, regardless of exactly who does what and which job titles they have. How do those risk assurance executives work with the rest of the business so that risk management priorities are aligned with business objectives? To do that, have a clear sense of which risk assurance executives advise others on risk, and which ones might actually own responsibility for risk. For example, the Chief Information Security Officer, CISO, should monitor and manage cybersecurity-related issues. Compliance or privacy officers might be responsible for certain regulatory filings or alerting regulators to a data breach. On the other hand, any type of auditor typically advises others about risk but does not assume responsibility for mitigating those risks. The auditor acts as a third line of defense, advising other risk management executives, the second line, or business operations people, the first line, about where things are weak and how to strengthen defenses. That is a lot of responsibility to keep straight, which means that a lot of communication and collaboration is involved in ensuring an effective risk assurance. Hence, the wisdom of creating an in-house risk committee, to forge the communication channels and trust that make collaboration possible. It is also helpful to have a technology platform where various risk assurance and compliance work streams can be scoped, documented, and managed, progress can be measured, and areas for improvement identified. Otherwise, as we noted above, you might have too many people sparring about who does what or nobody paying attention to a risk that might explode into a crisis. Neither scenario does an organization any good. And that is ultimately what the board wants to know, that the executive team is working in a coordinated fashion to keep risk at an acceptable level so the organization can pursue its objectives as wisely as possible. Conclusion. The meaning and roles of risk assurance in risk management have been discussed in this video. Risk management aims at managing potential impacts on your project, both positive and negative. Managing your risks is arguably one of the most important parts of a project. A risk management policy should set out the roles and responsibilities for risk management and internal control. Risk assurance is an important component of the overall risk management process. The term assurance refers to the verification of risk mitigation and internal control. It embraces the tasks of internal audit, management reviews and specialized audits that test and validate the control environment. The terms combined assurance and integrated assurance have become fashionable in recent times. Hope the video is educative and beneficial to you. Which aspects of the risk assurance discussed in this video do you consider more relevant within your organization? Please post your answer to this question in the comments section. If this video has been helpful and beneficial to you, then give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching the Risk Management of Everything videos. We love to hear from you. Please post your comments and questions in the comment section down below. If you are new here, please subscribe to our channel, Risk Management of Everything, and press the notification button so you can be notified when we upload new videos. Thank you.